intensive treatment.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Intensive Treatment, your spot where we talk about all things Arkham. Today we have a very special episode for you. It is not quite an Arkham episode, but we did a Cape Crusader episode. We did an episode that was about the Batman, and this one is no exception. This is about Joker 2. Both of us just
Folie
saw
à
Joker
deux.
2. Yeah, Folie à deux.
It's
Hey
just
man,
Joker
Folie
2.
à deux. Um,
It's just Joker 2.
But so we couldn't see it over the weekend. I wanted to see it opening day, couldn't. But we both ended up getting tickets for Tuesday showings, and I saw it right before he got here, just before you did. He's down in patient handle. Um, sorry, but yeah, so we both saw it. I finished a little bit before he did, and then he went in, saw it, and needless to say, to my surprise, we had two completely different takes on this movie.
We did.
And this should make for a fun episode because usually we don't really disagree about much here. And if it is, it's just very minute details. This is a major departure. So we're both going to be on the total polar opposite ends of the spectrum here. So I want to start with you because I'm sure by the people on our channel that know us, they're probably curious as to who has what opinion. Obviously, one of us doesn't like it and one of us does like it. So why don't you go first?
I
Tell the good
really,
people.
I really didn't like this movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't necessarily. It's not the worst movie I've seen this year, but like, this was just so hard to sit through, and like, it. And we'll get into it, but it just by the end, I left the theater pissed. I was just so angry, and in the back of my head, because they asked me before I left, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see Joker," and they're like, "Oh, tell me how you think." And Alters just like, "I hope he fucking hates it." I left, and I was not happy with what I saw, and I felt that that it was a waste of the 2.5 hours of my time that it took. So I yeah, I did not care for it. So what about you? I know that you have a an opinion on this.
I love Joker too. Um, I thought it was great. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the music. Um, I thought everything that you think is good about the movie, I also thought was good about the movie, like the visuals and the performances. Um, but everything you thought was bad, I thought was good.
Mhm.
So opposite ends.
Yeah.
Um, this is going to be hard to figure out where to start.
Well, I guess because you kind of delved into it a little bit, I'm going to talk about what I liked about Joker too.
Okay.
And so performances were good. Joaquin was probably just as good as he was in the first movie. There are some really good moments with him specifically. And Lady Gaga was good too. I was not expecting. Uh, I was expecting at least a decent performance by Lady Gaga for Harley Quinn, but she did a good job, I think. So
Yeah.
visually, it looks stunning. Um, they definitely used their $200 million budget on this
Yeah.
one. I love the look of how depressing Arkham is, the look of Gotham City, and even just the visual pizzazz of the musical moments themselves. Like some of the set pieces were really stunning to look at. But
Yeah.
that's about where my my compliments end with this movie.
Okay.
So
All right. So I will talk about, since he talked about the things he liked and did not like the movie, I will talk about the things I did not like about the movie because I did like it.
mhm.
Um, I didn't really like how Harley Quinn was handled completely. I just don't think she's very likable.
Yeah.
Usually there's something about Harley Quinn that's like she has this charm to her. Even though she's a psychopath and she's following the Joker's every order, like you still feel for her because she's mentally not well. And she's also being manipulated and coerced by the Joker. In this, the roles are reversed. Joker is manipulated by Harley Quinn, and it actually makes me hate her in this movie. And that doesn't take away from Gaga's performance. She did a great job. But she just felt like white trash after a certain point. I'm just like, damn, she's like, there's nothing good about her as a person. Like, she's not someone who was like brought into this and sort of against her will. She doesn't exactly know if she wants to do it, but she knows that she's in love with this guy and he's crazy and she's crazy for him, and it kind of just unravels itself. She goes to Arkham basically as a fangirl.
Yeah.
And makes Arthur become Joker again. So I didn't really like Harley Quinn. The pacing felt weird at certain points, but it wasn't really that big of an issue for me.
The pacing was horrible. The pacing
Oh,
just well, it
we'll
was
get
so
into this.
bad.
Um,
So what else did you not like about Joker? Folie Deux.
um, the ending is. I'm still trying to sit with it. I don't know how I feel about the ending.
I didn't care, like, by the end. I get what they're trying to do.
Yeah, me too.
Being like, oh, Arthur, even though he doesn't want to be. This is spoiler video,
Yeah,
by
this
the
is
way.
spoiler.
He gives up the Joker persona, and it basically is just like, oh, even if Arthur, because he gets shanked to death, and it's
Yeah.
like, even if Arthur dies, the Joker will live on in a way,
Right.
through
Because
another
the other guy
person.
cuts his face open and, you know,
Yeah,
basically Heath Ledger's himself.
like like Jared Leto said, I'm an idea. So
Right.
that's the whole thing. It's just like the idea of the Joker will live on, and
Right. Like
there'll
Arthur
be
Fleck was never the Joker. It was always just this
the
it was like a
symbol.
mantle. Yeah, it was a symbol. Which again, that has been in this movie franchise since the first movie, but it felt more like that now, especially with the ending. Whereas I much more prefer Joker as a man. Joker is not a symbol. Joker is the Joker.
Yeah.
There can't be multiple. There can only be one Joker. Um, sorry, Jeff Johns. There is not three. There's one. So, God, what a horrible book.
Oh man.
But yeah, so I don't know how I feel about the ending. Yeah, I get what they're trying to do. I'm gonna sit with it for a bit, but those are the main things I'm not a big fan of. Pacing felt off sometimes, and I just really didn't like Harley Quinn as a character, especially by the end when Arthur goes to her at the steps and she's just like, "Goodbye, Arthur. I'm pregnant. Goodbye, Arthur."
Yeah, he's like, she doesn't even call him Joker. It's just like, well, it's like, you're done, Arthur. You're not Joker.
Yeah.
Get out of here. So, where do we go from here? I guess we'll talk about, story, for one thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, this movie, in essence, is a courtroom drama, which
Yeah.
is basically, it's basically an epilogue. It's the whole point of the movie is to show, Arthur's effect of what happened with him becoming the Joker, how it affected the people around him in the city. And, they have multiple cameos of, like, Zazie Beetz comes back.
Yeah. Gary
Comes back.
That was sad.
That was sad. But it's all like the repercussions of what happened at the end of the first movie. And this, like, it was nice seeing those characters again, especially Gary. But all the movie really did was just make me want to watch the first movie, because it's basically just telling us stuff that we already knew and we could already piece together. Like, it doesn't add anything, I felt.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
The only one that really added something was Gary. Although I think, well, here's the thing. I think it adds something. I think there's some merit to it because um, it's there to show what the consensus is on who Arthur Fleck is. Um, which is what I think the movie is trying to reveal the entire time is like, who is this guy? Is he actually Joker or is he Arthur? Is he both? What's the deal? I think that's why they were there. So I do think they served a purpose. I just think that, you know, oh, and also Harvey Dent was a piece of shit in this movie. I hate him. One of the worst things about this movie. But yeah, I enjoyed Gary's return mostly though. That was the takeaway I got from them returning. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you say that it's just like, oh, we're they're trying to figure out who Arthur is in this movie, but we already had an answer for that in the first movie. He was Joker. He became Joker. The society beat him down, and it gotten to the point where he basically just said "fuck you" to everyone and became the Joker. So it feels like this movie starts really weird. It the whole time I was watching, like, it had a great start with him in Arkham and whatnot, just picking up certain pieces of where it left off. And then
Pick
it
up
just
where we
like,
left off.
and then it just completely like, it just was brick wall after brick wall. Um, because what basically happens is that by the time the second movie starts, he's back to being Arthur for the most part.
Yeah.
And then as Harley comes into the picture, or Art Lee, whatever the hell her name is,
Yeah.
like you said, she's manipulating him into becoming Joker again, which you get later on in the movie where he fires his lawyer and represents himself in court.
Right.
And then by the end, he sees all the things that happen, with Gary and whatnot, and then he realizes, like, I'm not the Joker. I'm just Arthur, which really, really frustrated me because it's just like I don't know, like it took away that whole point of what made the first movie, like that ending, and like that whole movie. It kind of retroactively ruined the first movie, to me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It was just all leading to this climax of like, you know what, I'm not Joker, I'm just a dude. Where the first movie, it was just like, yeah, he was that, and then he became you know this otherworldly presence of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It felt weird. Like a lot of it felt like weird character regression in a way. And part of
Mm-hmm.
it was also just like a retread of what happened prior. It's just like, okay, we're back to being Arthur, and then we're Joker for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, oh, we're gonna end with him being Arthur. And I left. I'm just like, what was the fucking point of this whole thing?
Well, I think because the movie, well, we know that the first movie is a social commentary. Um,
Yeah,
I think the second one is too, but it's primarily focusing on a different portion of it. Um, the first one focusing on, the rich and corrupt and what that can do to people who aren't rich and who get the bad end of the stick their whole lives. Um, who also struggle with mental illness. I think the second movie is a commentary on the repercussions of what people do when they have mental illnesses. I don't think, see, that's the thing about the Joker movies that I feel like people like. Yeah, the first one is definitely more of a Joker movie. I mean, it is a Joker movie, but the Joker movies were never, to me, about Joker. It was more about what they were trying to talk about. And that is a fault on Todd Phillips because he made a movie that was called Joker that isn't really about the Joker at all. And I don't think either of them are. I think they're both just about the subject matter at hand. Although the first movie, like I said, was more so trying to put that in of like, okay, he's Joker.
yeah,
From this, that, and the other thing, whatever created him. But I think that the second movie is trying to basically say that the Joker, yes, was a product of what happened to him, but that's not who he really is. And obviously that seems like it's obviously what the movie's trying to say. But I think it's a little bit more than that in the sense of that Arthur's mental illness was at the core of both these movies. And at the end of the day, Arthur is just a guy who's in pain. And him becoming Joker was a way for him to deal with that pain. Now, whether it was the right choice or not for them to go that route is, up for debate. That's why we're here, at the. I was just gonna make a horrible joke. I am not gonna say it. Oh my god, I dodged a bullet literally.
Save that for Speaking Nerd.
Oh yeah, it'll be welcome there. But that's just how I see it. Like is it a Joker movie? Is Joker 2 a Joker movie? No. Um, in the sense of like, yeah, it's basically taking away everything the first movie built up. But I think that was the point. Um, as a commentary on mental illness, rather, is what Todd Phillips, I think, is what he was doing. That's how I saw the movie anyway.
Yeah.
So I liked it in that context. As a Joker movie, it's not there. But as a movie, I thought it was what I watched it as, which was exactly what I just said, which is why I'm him.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm awaiting a response.
I mean, I could definitely see that through line in this movie, but I also feel like it's also retreading on most of the retreading on what was already said beforehand in the 1st movie. So so as you're going through it, you're hearing a lot of the same points and you're feeling a lot of the same, kind of inner studies that were, kind of the conclusions that were made about the first movie. And it honestly just kind of feels repetitive after a certain point.
Yeah.
It's just like, I already heard this in the first movie. I got it. I get the messages. I get all that. And I'm just hearing them again in this one. And it got annoying after a while, so but I don't know, that's just me. So one thing I wanted to talk about was the musical side of things. I know you like musicals.
Well, it depends. I'm not always a musical fan, but I can if it's the right place, right time.
I can enjoy musicals myself. This movie though, um, it was weird to me because they're basically singing every other minute or so, or at least that's how I interpreted it. It's like they have, a small conversation and then it's a full blown, you know, lyric fest. And it just drags the movie to a halt. That's one of the problems that it has with its pacing, is that like you start the scene off in Arkham or in the courtroom or whatever, and then somebody just starts singing. And it gets overplayed very, very quickly. Because literally right after a song ends, it's like a small little tidbit of a conversation, and then it's off to the next musical number.
Yeah.
And it happens throughout the entire fucking movie. And it got annoying. I was like literally squirming in my seat, frustrated because I was like Arthur at the end of the movie, where it's just like, stop singing. Or at
Damn.
least stop singing. Talk to me. So to me anyway, it kind of hurts the plot in the long run. I mean, I get its purpose, and they established that very early on. And a few of the musical numbers, I was like, okay, it's like, this works. Like the one where they're trying to break out of Arkham after they set the room on fire. That was good. But then it's just small scene, musical number, small scene, musical number, small. It's more musical than it is plot. And it's just like, I want to get engaged in what's happening, but I can't do that when I'm stopped every other second for them to just either have Lady Gaga's singing voice, or it's just like Joaquin's kind of dry delivery of it,
Yeah.
which mostly works. You know,
Yeah, I
he's a good
agree.
singer in this movie, but it just got annoying after a
Mm.
while. There was so much of it where it was just I couldn't even focus on what was happening, and I
See
got lost at a certain point. It was just like, wait, what was happening in that scene?
see, when I was watching it, I had a different experience. Like, I thought the music was, it was good. Um, I didn't think the music was, like, great, but I thought that the music was good in the sense that it served a purpose for the plot. Like, I felt like the music was what was moving the plot forward, and, um, what was I gonna say? I didn't actually feel from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. No, from my point of view, um, the music, I didn't feel like there was a lot of it. I felt like there was enough to where you could consider the movie a musical, but it wasn't enough to where, like, I saw a bunch of people saying every second was like it was a song, and I just didn't get that from the movie. I felt like there was a song at least every 15 minutes. Now, there is people singing throughout the movie, but they're never like full-blown musicals until it's like Harley and Joaquin.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm calling him Joaquin because he's not Joker in this movie. Um, he is
He's
he's
just
the man
Arthur.
that gets shanked.
He's just Arthur.
He's the shanker. Actually, he's the shanked. The new Joker is the
The
shanker.
Shanky. The Shanky.
Shanky, he's the shanky. Um, but yeah, so I'm on the other side where like I enjoyed that aspect of it. Whereas the music itself for me wasn't like, I mean, it's fine.
It didn't blow
Oh,
me away or anything.
no, like I don't think any of it's gonna be like remembered as like this was a revolutionary musical number, but um, it definitely for me did what it had to do and like forwarded the narrative. For me, bro.
Yeah,
That's
I
just my
didn't.
opinion.
Yeah, I didn't feel that at all. I felt like every time they started singing, whether it was in a big number or if it was just them walking towards a courtroom or something like that, when they started singing, it felt like it just kind of because a lot of the scenes, it's like, oh Arthur, what do you think about this? And then he'll just start randomly singing. Like it just stops the movie in its tracks, and it makes me kind of wonder, like how this could have been done differently.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like the direction they went with just kind of hurt the movie in the long run.
Yeah.
But
How do you think you would have liked to see this movie go differently?
um,
I mean, personally, like I enjoyed the movie, but I still would rather have not gotten a sequel.
oh yeah, for months I was saying it's like we don't really need a sequel to this, and once the trailers and start coming out, I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious to see what they do from there, and I think what this movie should have been is like, you know, is or what I think would have been most interesting is Harley kind of believing in that false fantasy of the Joker and then
Mm,
realizing by the end that it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
mm,
Like like it could have been a cool twist of how like revealing how much of a piece of shit Arthur has become by, you know, becoming the Joker. So
mm,
she could have still been like, oh, the fangirl type that gets herself committed. And then by the end of the movie, she thinks they're having this kind of wonderful life of them doing crime and whatnot. And then come to realize, like, no, he's actually turned into an abusive piece of shit asshole.
mm.
So that's what I would have loved to see. And like maybe you could have had a little bit starting off in Arkham, maybe a little bit of it in the courtroom, and then the rest of it is just kind of like this, you think it's a wonderful life sort of scenario, and then it ends up being the most depressing thing ever.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
yeah, like even
I
just
like
the
that
stuff in
idea.
the courtroom, like it's not even a good court drama, I think.
Yeah, I
Because
did think that
usually,
was one of the weaker parts.
yeah, because it's just like, you know, the whole thing about watching a court drama is that it's all about the discussion, seeing
Mhm.
which side is in the right, which one's wrong, having all these discussion pieces going back and forth, some of them having, points to each of their side. This was basically just everybody hammering on Arthur and him having basically no defense at all. It's just like,
Yeah.
Arthur's in the wrong. We already know he's going to get the chair regardless. Who cares? And they spend so much of the movie building up to like what the verdict will be. We already know what the verdict's going to be. He's already guilty. We know that. Arthur knows that too, but so.
Yeah.
And then you have like the explosion of the courthouse, which is just, it felt out of place. It's just like I was just there for shock or whatever. I thought, because I saw people talking about like, oh, the leaked ending on Twitter or whatnot. I thought the movie was going to end with him on the street and then him seeing that person in the Joker suit.
That's how I thought it was going to end.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you gave up being the Joker. Fuck you, stabbed on the street. And, I can run off and be the Joker. And it's just whatever. But yeah, it ended very strangely.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I also saw a lot of people being like, there's a lot of idiots I've seen where it's just like, oh, the Joker at the end is actually Heath Ledger. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah, one movie takes place in the 80s.
Because it carves a smile on his face. It's just like, that's Heath Ledger. Or that's why Heath Ledger's the best Joker. It's like, no, this has nothing to do with any of that.
I literally want to put "you're a fucking idiot" on every, like, actually you're brain dead if you think that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Whew. Well,
but yeah, and by the end of this movie, I was not only angry, but I was just like, I felt nothing by the end.
Yeah.
So I was really hoping this movie, like, I just the whole way through, I'm just like, why was this made? Why was this even being done? Like, how did it even get to this? And by the end, I was just like, you know what? I don't care anymore. It's like, I can forget this even happened. This was a bad dream. I can go back to watching the first movie and, just enjoy that for what it was. Is it the best comic book movie? No. But the first movie, like at the time that it came out, in the sea of like Marvel Studios projects, big CGI events and whatnot, like it's still, that first movie still holds up really well. So
yeah.
So this one was just like, it was just a waste of time to anybody listening to this. I don't recommend it whatsoever. Especially if you watch the first one, I feel like you're just wasting your time. So,
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I definitely think it's worth a watch. It's definitely, it's an acquired taste. I enjoyed it, but I will say that it didn't need to be a thing, didn't need to happen. And that's okay, guys. A movie can be good, and I mean, in my opinion, a movie can be good and it's still not. It still shouldn't have been a thing. It just like Joker ended the way that I just feel like creating a sequel to a movie like that, it's like creating a sequel to Taxi Driver. It's like, why would you ever do that? It's like the movie ends specifically that way for the viewer to figure out what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about it. But all the time, a lot of times they're great. I think they handled the aftermath well, but I just still don't think it needed to be there. And they did it in a very odd way. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Alrighty. Is there any other points that we need to go through before we end this?
I don't have any, but if you do, then we shall
I
We
think
shall
I
go over it.
I think I pretty much said what I needed to. But anyway, let's we'll
Let's
be
leave it
back
up
with
to
an
discussion in the
yeah.
comments. What did you guys think of Joker Folie Deux? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Um, Let us know in the comments. I'm assuming you hated it.
You just know me
31%.
for all the comments. It's just
Yeah, like yeah. But let us know what you think.
yeah. Also, stay tuned for any more intensive treatment episodes that'll be coming out. I know it's been a bit since we've recorded the podcast specifically, but hopefully we'll get back to putting more episodes out on a regular
Yeah.
basis, and also some more ITTV stuff and live streams as well. So tune in for all those. But anyway, we'll see you guys for whatever we decide to talk about next. Anyway, have a great night. Thank you all so much for listening, and be sure to stay locked up like always.